Remedy Entertainment is known for creating games that have left players asking questions for years as they explore the many mysteries that Remedy presents to their audiences. In this video, we'll dive deep into the depths of the dark place and try to gain some sense of control over the monolith known as the Remedy Entertainment Iceberg. Starting in Tier 1, we have Bright Falls. Bright Falls is a 6-episode web series that was advertised as the prequel to Alan Wake. It tells the story of a journalist named Jake Fisher, who travels to Bright Falls to interview Dr. Emil Hartman. Jake is eventually touched by the dark presence, and the series ends with Alan and Alice Wake entering Bright Falls. Alex Casey. Most recently, Alex Casey appeared as a character in Alan Wake 2, where he is an FBI agent and the partner of Saga Anderson. Alex Casey is also the name of a fictional detective in a series of books written by Alan Wake. It's clear to many that Alex Casey was inspired, in large part, by Max Payne, or maybe it was the other way around. Alex Casey was one of the names originally considered for Max Payne, along with Max Heat and Dick Justice. Sam Lake drinking coffee. On June 6th of 2023, Sam Lake uploaded a TikTok video with the caption, "Having a coffee in LA." In the video, Sam Lake looks off into the distance while slowly sipping from a cup of coffee. Since that first video, Sam Lake has uploaded around 100 more coffee-sipping videos across his social media platforms. While some people have asked if there is a deeper meaning to these videos, the Having a Coffee series is just one of many coffee-related things tied to Remedy Entertainment. On April 1st of 2018, Remedy uploaded a video announcing that they would be shifting away from game development to focus on making coffee instead. Sometime later, Remedy actually released an Oh Dear Diner Bright Falls coffee blend. Most recently, coffee was the main theme of North Star, an episode from the Night Springs DLC for Alan Wake 2, which played out like a coffee-themed parody of the events of Control. Coffee continues to be an essential part of Remedy's operations and identity. The Remedy Connected Universe. As far back as the release of the original Alan Wake, fans had been suspecting that Remedy's games were connected in some way, but the Remedy Connected Universe wasn't officially announced until August 7th of 2020. The AWE expansion for Control was the kickoff event for this connected universe. While all of the Remedy games have had various types of connections to one another, the Remedy Connected Universe is made up of official, canonical crossover events between the games that Remedy has the rights to. Poison Pill Entertainment. On May 29, 2024, Remedy's social media profiles were all updated to read Poison Pill Entertainment since 1995 Night Springs City. Profile pictures, banners, and all publicly displayed usernames reflected this switch. Fans speculated on what exactly the change could have meant, but it was eventually revealed that Poison Pill Entertainment is a sort of dark place echo of Remedy Entertainment. It's a fictional game development studio that was featured in the Alan Wake 2 DLC, Night Springs. Remedy's social media profiles were changed back to normal on July 4th, 2024. Poets of the Fall. Poets of the Fall is a Finnish rock band formed in 2003. Their first single, Lake Goodbye, was originally created for the game Max Payne 2, with the lyrics having been adapted from a poem written by Sam Lake. Members of the band appeared in the first Max Payne game, and the band has had some presence in almost every Remedy game since. Ahti. Ahti is a character first introduced in the game Control. While his true nature is still unclear, many fans speculate that he may be a god. Ahti went on to appear in Alan Wake 2, showing up both in reality and in the Dark Place. He also had a brief appearance in the Night Springs DLC. Night Springs. Night Springs first appeared as an in-game television show featured in the first Alan Wake game. The show can be seen as a reference to The Twilight Zone, with a similar opening narration and animation. The show has continued to gain relevance in the Remedy-connected universe. Alan Wake's first professional writing gig was on that show, and the Federal Bureau of Control is the current rights holder of the program. The Max Payne movie. On August 9, 2001, just 2 weeks after the release of Max Payne for the PC, it was announced that the game had been optioned for a movie adaptation. The movie, aptly titled Max Payne, starred Mila Kunis and Mark Wahlberg, and was released in October of 2008. The script was originally planned to be handled by Sean Ryan, creator and head writer of The Shield, a show that has been considered by many to be one of the greatest of all time. Instead, the script was handled by Bo Thorne, a lecturer at Brooklyn College who has no other official writing credits. The movie has a 16% critic rating and 29% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The film did hit the #1 box office spot during its opening weekend, which is especially impressive considering that it was going up against movies like The Secret Life of Bees and Sex Drive. In June of 2022, an entertainment industry insider and leaker claimed that 20th Century Fox had put a live-action Max Payne reboot into production. There is currently no official word on the status of the reboot. Death Rally. Death Rally is a vehicular combat racing game that was developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by Apogee Software. It was Remedy's first published game, and references to it can be found in many other Remedy titles, often in the form of posters or arcade cabinets. The game got a remake in 2012, which includes cameos from Barry Wheeler, Thomas Emerson, and Jeff Keighley. Tier 2. The Alan Wake TV show. On September 12, 2018, Brian Crescenti reported that a live-action Alan Wake TV series was in development, with Peter Calloway serving as showrunner and writer, and Sam Lake as executive producer. The plan was to begin pitching the show in October of that year. In May of 2022, it was announced that AMC had purchased the rights and agreed to develop the show. In August of 2024, it was announced that Remedy and AMC had amicably parted ways, and Annapurna would now be handling the series. Vinnie Gognitti is Barry Wheeler. It's common to see familiar faces appear throughout different Remedy games. However, you might also hear some familiar voices. Voice actor Fred Berman portrayed Vinnie Gognitti in Max Payne 2, as well as the Rockstar Studios-developed Max Payne 3. Berman is also the voice actor for Alan Wake's best friend and literary agent, Barry Wheeler. Given the echoes and complicated relationship between Max Payne and Alex Casey, it may be worthwhile to ponder the relationship between Gognitti and Wheeler. The Untitled Note. Toward the end of Quantum Break, players can find a note from Martin Hatch. The note touches on Hatch's motivations and the origin of his powers. It speaks of a naturally occurring time machine found deep within a cave, something very similar to Mr. Door's origin story, as it appeared in the Night Springs DLC. Alan Wake 2 concept video. Toward the beginning of Quantum Break, players can find a television that plays what appears to be a teaser trailer for a new Alan Wake story. Before Quantum Break was announced, many Remedy fans had hoped that the studio's next title would be a sequel to Alan Wake. However, Microsoft was not interested in publishing a new Alan Wake game, and so the idea was indefinitely put on pause. In an attempt to share some of the concepts that might have made up a potential Alan Wake sequel, Remedy produced this live-action concept video, showing early versions of Saga Anderson and Alex Casey. For a deep dive into this topic, check out our video on it. The Alan Wake Files. Included as a physical item in the limited collector's edition of Alan Wake for the Xbox 360, the Alan Wake Files is presented as having been written by an in-game character named Clay Stewart. Following the events of the first game, Clay traveled to Bright Falls after having a series of recurring dreams, in which he saw Alan Wake. Clay investigated the disappearance of Alan Wake, and compiled his findings into the book. A PDF copy is included in the bonus files of the PC port of Alan Wake. Alan Wake 2 promo collaborations. Around the release of Alan Wake 2, Remedy engaged in several Alan Wake-themed collabs with other games. These included Fortnite, where an Alan Wake skin was made available, and an Alan Wake flashback experience level was developed that acted as a sort of recap of the first game. The Alan Wake flashback also featured the first appearance of voice actor Christina Cole in the role of Alice Wake. Dead by Daylight launched an Alan Wake chapter, which introduced Alan Wake as a survivor, with alternate outfits allowing players to take on the role of Rose Marigold, Saga Anderson, or Mr. Scratch. PUBG Mobile teased a Survive with Light collaboration. At the time, fans speculated what this could mean. However, no one could have guessed that the collaboration would be nothing more than an Alan Wake 2 themed avatar frame, which I cannot find a photo of. Finally, there was an Alan Wake 2 collaboration in Rocket League. This collaboration seems to have flown entirely under the radar, with neither Remedy or Psyonix making any mention of it on their social media channels. Ultimately, the collaboration was a free Alan Wake 2 bundle, available for a limited time in the item shop. The bundle included a Deerfest-themed player banner and the ability to change the player's title to The Writer. Address Unknown. Address Unknown is a television series in the world of Max Payne. In the first game, it's a simple homage to Twin Peaks, but in Max Payne 2, the series expands to present a meta-narrative that mirrors the events of the game. Many elements of the show, including a murderous doppelganger, mysterious phone calls, and an ever-shifting Nightmare City, would go on to appear in Alan Wake 2. Novelizations. As with many other Microsoft-published games of the time, both Alan Wake and Quantum Break received the novelization treatment. The Alan Wake novel tells a slightly modified version of the story, but generally follows the events of the game. The book is credited to Rick Burroughs, who many fans believe to be a pseudonym for Sam Lake. There are no other books credited to this author, and no further information can be found about them online. Personally, I'm more inclined to believe that this book was just some contract work done by an author who chose to work under a pen name. Many other licensed novelizations have been written by authors who choose to not be directly credited for their work. Beyond that, in the foreword to the Quantum Break novel, titled Quantum Break: Zero State, Sam Lake expressed that he struggled to see the point of a straightforward game novelization, since the story had already been told in its preferred medium. Sam Lake saw the Quantum Break novel as an opportunity to do things differently, given that the game itself featured many different possible versions of the same story. Zero State was written by Cam Rogers, who had previously worked on Quantum Break. His familiarity with the source material allowed him to write an alternate version of the game's timeline, which included some elements and backstory information that had been cut from the game. Art and making of books. Remedy has produced books that accompanied the releases of Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and Control. These books document the making of each game, and show off a large amount of concept art for each title. These books also include a fair amount of information regarding cut content. A similar book has been announced for Alan Wake 2, and will be included in the collector's edition of the game. Neighbor of the Beast. In most translations of the Bible, 666 is referred to as the number of the beast. In most Remedy games, a reference to the neighbor of the beast can be found, either in the number 665 or 667. Some players have pointed out that if the beast is 666, its neighbor would be either 664 or 668, since in North America, where the games are set, houses are numbered in the traditional European system of odd numbers on one side of the street and even numbers on the other. Tier 3. Nicole Horn is Max Payne's mother. The first Max Payne game didn't really feature any professional actors, and instead, friends, family, and acquaintances of the Remedy staff wound up portraying many characters in the game. This is how Sam Lake wound up as the person portraying Max in the first game, and Sam Lake's mother took on the role of Nicole Horn, the game's main antagonist. Alan Wake wearing glasses. The character of Alan Wake in the first game went through several iterations before Remedy landed on the look that we're all familiar with. One early version of the character saw the writer donning a pair of glasses. Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, Ragnarok is a series of events that includes the death of many mythological figures. Ragnarok is also the name of a nightclub in the first Max Payne game. The events of that game largely mirror the story of Ragnarok, starting with the death of DEA agent Alex Balder, who is an echo of the mythological figure known as Balder, the son of Odin. This House of Dreams. On February 22nd of 2012, a blog called This House of Dreams was published on blogspot.com. The posts are presented as having been written by a woman named Samantha Wells, who was documenting the renovation of an old house that she had purchased in a town called Ordinary. In reality, the blog was a writing exercise for Sam Lake, and the posts within make many references to what would eventually become elements of the Remedy connected universe. Sam Lake, the in-game character. Sam Lake is known in our world as Remedy's creative director, but he's also appeared as a character in Alan Wake 1 and 2, further blurring the lines between Remedy's fiction and reality. The Red-Headed Woman. In Address Unknown, there is mention of a woman who has dyed her hair red. This line went on to gain greater significance when Tim Breaker made mention of a red-headed woman on his whiteboard in the Dark Place in Alan Wake 2. Crossfire X. Crossfire X was an Xbox One exclusive multiplayer shooter that featured 2 campaigns developed by Remedy Entertainment. Unfortunately, the game struggled to maintain an audience, and the servers were shut down in May of 2023. For some reason, the single-player campaigns were made unavailable when the multiplayer servers shut down. Research that I've done suggests that these campaigns are still available in China through an exclusive PC version of the game. However, all efforts to gain access to this game outside of that region have so far been unsuccessful. Broderick Northmore. Northmore is a former director of the Federal Bureau of Control, and the first director to have been elected by the board. Northmore is a very powerful para-utilitarian who eventually started to lose control of his powers. At the request of Zachariah Trench, Northmore agreed to retire from his position as director and allowed himself to be sealed inside of a containment chamber that would be used to power the oldest house, and he still resides in that chamber to this very day. The Chalkboard. In the opening chapter of Quantum Break, the player can find a lecture hall with a chalkboard that suggests there was a class on the topic of Alan Wake. The status of Alan Wake in the world of Quantum Break is unclear, as players can find novels written by Alan Wake in the game world, as well as people playing the game Alan Wake on their PCs. Regardless, the chalkboard offers a lot of interesting information about Alan Wake, most of which would wind up being relevant to Alan Wake 2. Dylan's dreams. At some point in the game Control, Jesse Faden can speak to her brother Dylan about his dreams. During these scenes, Dylan reveals information that we would later come to recognize as foreshadowing of the events of Alan Wake 2. These scenes would also act as confirmation of the Remedy-connected universe before the crossover event was officially recognized by Remedy themselves. Tier 4. Mullet Time. In Alan Wake, players can come across a character named Thomas Emerson, a video game designer who is also a patient at the Cauldron Lake Lodge. Emerson will monologue about his experiences in the industry, and this speech is a reference to Remedy's own experiences working on Max Payne. The Max Payne IP was co-owned with Apogee, something that Apogee founder Scott Miller has gone out of his way to mention on many occasions. He also takes credit for the bullet time idea, and given this context, it's easy to see Emerson's mullet time rant as a possible tongue-in-cheek reference to Miller's involvement in Max Payne's development. The Alan Wake 2 ARG. During the lead-up to Alan Wake 2's release, a select number of online personalities and influencers were sent a series of packages from Epic Games. These packages included secrets found through things like the use of blacklight or a false panel in the bottom of a box. Coded messages and cryptic notes in the packages led many fans to believe that a full-on Alan Wake ARG had commenced. However, when all was said and done, there didn't appear to be any deeper message to be found other than what was revealed in the promotional videos. 4,000 plus Alan Wake Xbox 360 download cards. Back in October of 2021, we made a video where we looked up Alan Wake items on eBay. One particularly amusing listing was for approximately 4,000 Alan Wake Xbox 360 download cards, with an asking price of $299.95. By February of 2024, the price had gone down to $239.94. In April of 2024, it was announced on Twitter that the cards had finally been purchased, although it turned out that the cards didn't actually work. Some internet comments suggested that the cards needed to be activated at the point of sale, but unfortunately, that was no longer an option. Mona survived. Spoiler alert, Mona Sachs dies at the end of Max Payne. Or so it would seem. She actually survived and appeared in Max Payne 2, where she died at the end of the game. Or so it would seem. If players can beat the game on the hardest possible difficulty level, they can unlock an alternate ending, in which Mona Sachs survives what would have otherwise been a fatal gunshot. However, when creating Max Payne 3, Rockstar decided to make the ending with Mona's death the canonical conclusion to Max Payne 2. 9/11. The events that occurred in the United States on September 11, 2001 have a surprising significance in the Remedy-connected universe. In Quantum Break, we find out that time traveler Beth Wilder attempted to prevent the attack on the Twin Towers. The console ports of Max Payne erased all images of the Twin Towers from their comic book cutscenes, and Mark Wahlberg, star of the Max Payne movie, claimed that if he had been on one of the planes that had flown into the towers, quote, it wouldn't have went down like it did. There would have been a lot of blood in that first-class cabin, and then me saying, okay, we're going to land somewhere safely, don't worry. 2 months after making these claims, Wahlberg would retract his statements and apologize for coming off as insensitive. The Control ARG. On December 20th of 2018, Remedy posted a trailer for the game Control. At one point in the trailer, a symbol can be seen on a wall. That same day, Remedy did a live stream where a similar symbol could be seen, with a note asking if it was some kind of code. Below the symbol was a cardboard box with Morse code written on it. A third symbol was seen in a video posted on March 1st of 2019. On March 26th of that year, fans found a link to a hidden page on the official website for the game. This page prompted them to enter a 6-digit authentication code. Fans in the Control Discord server were eventually able to figure out a correlation between the symbols and the Morse code, thus giving them access to the restricted area. Once there, they were shown a video of Dr. Casper Darling, after which the website would note that it had detected an unauthorized login. Users were prompted to enter their full names in exchange for valid FBC authentication codes. These names were listed in the credits of the game, and 5 names in particular were listed in a document found in the game that detailed a data breach. Psycho Thriller and Night Springs. Available as PDFs in the bonus files of the Alan Wake PC port, Psycho Thriller and Night Springs are 2 comic books that expand on the events of the first Alan Wake game. Psycho Thriller details what happened to Dr. Emil Hartman immediately after his last encounter with Alan Wake, and Night Springs focuses on Frank Breaker, a former FBC agent and the father of Sarah Breaker. While the copyright date on these comics is 2011, the stories contain elements of what would eventually become the Remedy Connected Universe, including a phone call from Frank Breaker to Kirkland, who we would later come to know as William Kirkland, the former head of research at the FBC. Emil Hartman ripped off Dr. Phil. Dr. Emil Hartman was the author of a book called The Creator's Dilemma. The design of this book was clearly inspired by Self Matters, a book by Philip C. McGraw, PhD, better known as TV's Dr. Phil. The Deer Story. At a certain point in Alan Wake's American Nightmare, players can interact with a phone booth that will play a recording of Matthew Peretta, the voice actor for Alan Wake, telling what is known as the Deer Story. This appears to have been a candid moment caught on tape that was included in the game as an Easter egg. Product placement. The first Alan Wake game included a considerable amount of product placement, including Energizer batteries, a 2010 Lincoln MKT, which can also be seen in the game's live-action prequel, Bright Falls, the Microsoft Sync software, the Microsoft Xbox 360, and Verizon phones. The game went so far as to even include a Verizon commercial on a television, and a character in the game utters Verizon's marketing catchphrase of the time, "Can you hear me now?"
Can you hear me now? Yes.
The majority of these elements were not included in Alan Wake Remastered. Tier 5. Max Payne 1998 Beta. On November 19th, 2018, Frederick Schreiber, the current CEO of 3D Realms and Slipgate Ironworks, posted a brief video to the 3D Realms Discord server, showing off a 1998 beta version of Max Payne. In a subsequent message, Schreiber stated that he had builds of the game going as far back as 1995. The video itself is a recording of a screen rather than actual game capture footage. At the time of writing, no beta builds of Max Payne have been released to the public, and very little footage of the early builds is available. Alan Wake Skeleton Fight. In Episode 4 of Alan Wake, players can go off the beaten path to find a small graveyard. Upon approaching the graves, the Dark Presence will extract several skeletons from the ground and attack you with them. The Veteran Porter. The Veteran Porter is a character in the 2019 game from Kojima Productions, Death Stranding. The Veteran Porter was portrayed by Sam Lake. House of Leaves and Poe. House of Leaves is a novel by Mark Z. Danielewski. The book was a very strong influence on the game Control, with many parallels being able to be drawn between the two works. The author's sister performs music under the name Poe. Poe collaborated with Sam Lake to make some music for Alan Wake 2, thus bringing the connections between all of these influences a bit closer together. Agents of Storm. On October 22, 2014, Remedy and co-publisher Flare Games released Agents of Storm, a free-to-play mobile strategy game released for iOS. Despite not having any overt connections to Remedy's other titles, the world of Agents of Storm contains many echoes of the RCU, including an antagonistic multinational corporation with an inverted triangle for a logo, and a familiar-looking character named Storm Commander. The servers were shut down in November of 2017, and as of the making of this video, the game is seemingly no longer available to play in any form. The cancelled Alan Wake 2. Initial work on Alan Wake 2 began shortly after the release of the first game. Concept art and a pitch demo were put together, but Microsoft decided to pass on the game, instead requesting that Remedy adapt some of its ideas for Alan Wake 2 into a new IP, which would eventually become Quantum Break. Some of the ideas from this cancelled version of the game made their way into 2012's Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Socks and Ballerinas. In the game Control, players can come across a chalkboard with some seemingly disparate messages written on it. A coded message on the board turned out to read Socks and Ballerinas, the name of a two-piece experimental rock band that was formerly based in Finland, but has since moved to the UK. The words on the chalkboard are song titles from their 2019 album, Soap, and the letters and numbers at the bottom of the chalkboard were 3 download codes that could be redeemed on bandcamp.com for a free download of the album. Mila Marble. Mila Marble and the Mystery of the Missing Grandma is a 2017 children's book written by Sam Lake. The book tells the story of a young girl who uses her especially keen sense of intuition to play detective and solve the case of the missing grandma. The book's illustrator would go on to design Saga Anderson's sweater, and the book itself can be seen in Alan Wake 2. 1-857-239-7601. In the original Xbox 360 version of Alan Wake, players could scan a Microsoft tag that would present them with a phone number. Calling that number would play the following message.
Hello, you have reached Dr. Emil Hartman. I regret that I cannot take your call at this moment. If you are a reporter calling about the creator's dilemma, please note that I will be glad to talk to you, but interview requests should go through my office. If you are an artist facing creative challenges, please leave your name and contact information. My clinic here at Cauldron Lake Lodge specializes in helping creators overcome the obstacles that stand between them and their true potential, and we are at your disposal. We will help you unlock your true potential and face whatever demons are keeping you from achieving your deepest and greatest dreams. Have a fantastic day.
In later versions of the game, the Microsoft tags were replaced with QR codes, which linked to different content than was found in the original game. Alan Wake's Visions. In Alan Wake Remastered, the aforementioned QR codes linked to 3 unlisted YouTube videos, each one featuring a monologue from Alan Wake. Players speculated about the meaning of these videos. However, they lacked the full context required to totally understand what these videos were addressing. The visions, as they are referred to in the title of each video, were direct foreshadowing of the events of Alan Wake 2, a game that, at the time, had yet to even be announced. Tier 6. Undertow. Many of the major story elements and even some of the characters featured in Alan Wake have their origins in a screenplay written by Sam Lake. That screenplay is titled Undertow. Mira was here. In the DLC episode, The Signal, for the first Alan Wake game, players can find graffiti that reads, "Mira was here." This is in reference to John Mira, a character from Address Unknown, the television series from the Max Payne games. Duke Nukem. Apogee Software was an early partner of Remedy Entertainment. Apogee Software, which eventually began using the brand name 3D Realms for its 3D games, were the developers of the Duke Nukem series. Remedy's first game, Death Rally, was published by Apogee Software, around 8 months after the release of Duke Nukem 3D. In an attempt to build on the success of Duke Nukem 3D, the box art for Death Rally proudly announces the players can race against Duke Nukem himself. Duke would go on to appear in the remake of Death Rally as well, offering evidence that Duke Nukem is in some way part of the extended Remedy universe. Players can also find a Duke Nukem 3D mousepad near a computer in the first Max Payne game. The Flamingo. In Max Payne, a pink flamingo is a prominent character in the show Address Unknown, speaking backwards and delivering lines like, "Mirrors are more fun than television." In Control, Jesse Faden is tasked with cleansing an altered item in the form of a pink flamingo lawn ornament. Alan Wake 2 brought more pink flamingos into the mix, with several of them being scattered throughout Coffee World. Alan Wake cover art, Secret Images. The cover art for the first Alan Wake game contains 2 images that many people fail to notice at first. The tree line reflecting on the water morphs to resemble a group of Taken, and the face of Alice Wake can be seen on the surface of the water. Alan Wake Official Survival Guide. The Alan Wake Official Survival Guide is, in part, a standard player's guide, but it is formatted in such a way that makes it feel like a direct extension of the game. In addition to in-depth descriptions of the characters, locations, and items found in Alan Wake, the walkthrough itself is written in the style of a manuscript. According to the book's author, David S.J. Hodgson, Remedy and Microsoft provided him with a copy of the game, some lore materials, and 2 months to create this unique guide. The book was bundled with a second book titled Alan Wake Illuminated, which gave a full overview of the game and its production. And through the support of viewers like you, through our channel memberships and Patreon, I was able to purchase a copy of this book that I then scanned and uploaded to the Internet Archive. You can find a link to that down below. The Dopefish. The Dopefish originated as a character in 1991's Commander Keen, the first published game from the team that would become id Software. Commander Keen was published by Apogee, and the Dopefish would go on to officially appear in a couple of other Apogee games. Over time, more and more PC games would feature references to the Dopefish, including Max Payne and Alan Wake. Alan Wake might hold the record for the most Dopefish references in a single game, with 3 Dopefish references scattered throughout the campaign. Alan Wake Free Camera. If players type "free camera" into the launch options for the PC port of Alan Wake, they can press both thumbsticks on a game controller to activate a free camera mode. Doing so allows players to see that large portions of the game's world are realistically connected. It also lets you get a closer look at things that you would otherwise only ever be able to see from a distance. Backmasking. Backmasking is the practice of including a backwards message in a recording that is meant to be played forward. The technique has been used several times in songs featured in Remedy games, like this bit in the 2019 song Take Control.
The diamond will tell you where 119
which gave players instructions on how to reach an especially well-hidden secret in the game. The first line of this backwards speech also gave us an early glimpse into some of the events of Alan Wake 2, making direct reference to the Koskela brothers creating the symbol for the Cult of the Tree. Sam Lake wrote a Max Payne comic. To accompany the release of the third Max Payne game, a 3-issue comic book series was published that in part helped to bridge the gap between Max Payne 2 and 3, and offered a deeper look into Max's backstory. These books were co-written by Dan Houser and Sam Lake. The books were published by Marvel and were compiled into a hardcover collection. Scans and PDFs of the books are also widely available online. Tier 7. True Tom Rhymer. Thomas the Rhymer, also known as True Thomas, was a Scottish prophet and poet born in the 13th century. He would often deliver his prophecies through rhyme, and it eventually became common for others to credit prophetic verses to True Thomas in order to give them more legitimacy. There are several fictionalized accounts of Thomas's life, but the general legend of True Thomas is that he was lying beneath a tree when the Queen of Elfland appeared before him and brought him into her realm. His journey only felt like 3 days, but in reality, 7 years had passed. Upon returning, Thomas had been given the gift of prophecy through his poetry. An unseen narrator in the game Death Rally introduces himself as True Tom Rhymer, and in later Remedy games, Thomas Zane would be identified as a poet. The connection between True Tom Rhymer and Thomas Zane was solidified in the Night Springs DLC for Alan Wake 2, where Thomas Zane can be seen as the leading role in a film called Death Rally. While there's no direct connection between Remedy and the 13th century poet, it seems likely that Sam Lake has taken some inspiration from True Thomas over the years. Alan Wake was a fantasy game. After developing 2 Max Payne games, Remedy wanted their next title to be a significant departure from that series. By 2004, the team at Remedy had made significant progress in developing a fantasy world, with some environments and character concepts having been created. However, this idea was eventually abandoned in favor of what would eventually become Alan Wake. Quantum Break prototype footage. The initial plans for Quantum Break were much more ambitious than the game we eventually got. There were going to be multiple playable protagonists, an idea that was ultimately condensed into the junction sections where you take control of Paul Serene. While no playable version of this early concept for Quantum Break has ever surfaced, some prototype footage has been made available that shows a very different looking game. Mr. Scratch killed Sam Lake. Remedy created a series of promotional videos for the release of Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Throughout them, Mr. Scratch can be seen lurking around in the background. In the third of 3 dev diary videos that were published, Sam Lake can be seen being attacked by the Dark Presence, and then having his limp and presumably dead body carried away by none other than Mr. Scratch. These events are canon, and every time that you've seen Sam Lake since these videos were published, you've actually been seeing a Sam Lake clone. Alan Wake bonus files. When you install the PC version of Alan Wake, there are several folders of bonus files, which include photos, videos documenting the game's development, MP3s, and a bunch of PDF files that include scripts, comics, and sheet music for the game's score. These files are not included with Alan Wake Remastered. Jesse met Beth. At a certain point in the game Control, you can find a photo that appears to show Jesse Faden sitting at a table with Beth Wilder, a character from the game Quantum Break. Both characters were portrayed by Courtney Hope. Given the fact that Jesse is an interdimensional traveler and Beth Wilder has traveled through time, it's not impossible for these two to have crossed paths, even if Microsoft, the owners of the Quantum Break IP, would never allow that information to be publicly confirmed. Kestrel. On August 29, 2018, Remedy announced a new project that they called the Vanguard Initiative. According to a press release, the focus of the team was ongoing live multiplayer game experiences. It was stated that the team would be using Unreal Engine 4 alongside Northlight, Remedy's own in-house engine. On December 28th of 2021, it was announced that Remedy had partnered with Tencent on the Vanguard project, and that a free-to-play co-op game was in the proof-of-concept phase under the name Vanguard. On November 13th of 2023, it was announced that the game project Vanguard would have its name changed to codename Kestrel, and that it was moving away from the free-to-play model in favor of a premium co-op multiplayer game. The project was moved back to the concept phase. On May 7th of 2024, it was announced that Kestrel was being cancelled so that Remedy could put more focus on existing franchises. No images of Kestrel were ever released to the public. Remedy's other multiplayer project, known as Condor, is currently still in development. The Trademark Dispute. On January 16, 2024, a website called Respawn First published an article with the headline, "Trademark Tussle. Remedy Entertainment and Take-Two clash over logo." At the time, Remedy was using a relatively new logo, which was supposedly too similar to the Rockstar Games logo. The situation seemed especially odd given that Remedy and Rockstar were in a partnership to develop and publish remakes of Max Payne 1 and 2. Ultimately, the situation was a non-issue from the start, and the alleged lawsuit that was being talked about online was just a legal formality. The situation had been amicably resolved the year prior, and it seems that Jake Bishop at Respawn First jumped on the story without first reaching out to Rockstar or Remedy for a statement. Despite Remedy going on record as saying that the dispute had long since been resolved, Jake Bishop returned to the story in March of 2024 when he stated that he felt it was unlikely that Remedy would be able to continue using their new logo. Remedy has continued to use their new logo since its reveal in April of 2023. Naked Mona. If players add -developer keys to the launch options in the PC version of Max Payne 2, they can use the page up or page down keys on their keyboard to change Max into any character model featured in the game, including a nude model of Mona Sachs. And before any especially amorous Mona fans ask, her lower region has not been fully modeled. Kojima was in control. In a mission intended to be exclusive to the PlayStation 4 version of Control, players can enter a sensory deprivation tank and listen to a sort of guided meditation with a Japanese language voiceover provided by Hideo Kojima. The imagery described on the tapes materializes in environments that the player explores. This mission has been available on PC through illicit mods, although it appears that subsequent patches for Control further restricted access to this content. Tier 8. Final Reality. Final Reality is a 3D benchmark created by Remedy Entertainment. Benchmarks like this are used to test the limits of a PC and see what it's capable of. The Final Reality team eventually broke off into a group called FutureMark, which developed 3D Mark, which is still a popular benchmarking tool to this day. The original Final Reality benchmark includes some familiar imagery, making it yet another element of the loosely connected and unofficial extended Remedy universe. Artemis. In Quantum Break, players can find a large whiteboard display, where Paul Serene has documented key events in history, with objectives and notes all informed by his time-traveling experiences. One particular note that has been of interest to some players reads, Artemis Vision. Vision of Artemis connection to shifters? What does this mean? There are many characters in Quantum Break, some of whom we never actually see, but this appears to be the only mention of Artemis. Whether or not this is part of a larger story element that was cut from the game is currently unconfirmed. Stay Frosty Baskinator. Catherine Baskin is the current community manager for Helldivers 2. She's also a longtime Remedy superfan whose username, Baskinator, was immortalized in Max Payne 2 and Alan Wake. The Remedy and Rockstar connected universe. There is a mounting pile of evidence to suggest that there is an intentional connection between the worlds of Remedy and Rockstar games. Recurring imagery and themes support this theory, and some seemingly overt references, like the Ocean View Hotel in the GTA 6 trailer, and Remedy's long-standing relationship with Rockstar games, make it a very compelling rabbit hole to dive into. Secret Finale. If players can complete Max Payne on its hardest difficulty level, Dead on Arrival, they can access an exclusive chapter called Secret Finale. In this chapter, Max enters a room and then goes into a semi-permanent bullet time state. The room then fills with especially difficult enemies. If you can defeat them all, you can then enter another room that displays some photos taken during the game's development, alongside a large rotating Remedy logo. Alan Wake wrote Control. Documents can be found in the game Control that many fans have interpreted as proof of Alan Wake having created the entirety of that game's events. A script for an episode of the in-universe television show Night Springs appears to directly mirror some of the events of Control. While the idea of Alan creating entire people out of nothing has been directly refuted by Remedy, there are many posts online made by players who feel like Remedy was trying to suggest Alan Wake was creating and orchestrating everything that went down throughout Control. It wasn't until Alan Wake 2 that players received more context, confirming the theory that Alan wasn't actually creating all of those events, but was predicting them, receiving visions from throughout time, and using them to create his narratives. While some of the nuances of Alan's powers are still up for debate, it's been made very clear that Alan can only nudge things in a certain direction, and isn't able to directly control the outcome of every situation that he writes about. Clay Stewart in Bright Falls. While the Alan Wake Files book indicates that Clay Stewart didn't arrive in Bright Falls until after the events of the first game, Clay is clearly visible in downtown Bright Falls during the opening portion of the game. This can be confirmed by using the free camera mode, and while this isn't a full quality model of Clay Stewart, it is unmistakably the same person. Was this Remedy just reusing an asset, or is it meant to suggest something deeper about the nature of time in the RCU? We may never know for sure. The Next Testament. At E3 2000, God Games handed out a promotional item that looked like a Bible, called The Next Testament. God Games was started as an alliance of 8 different video game developers, who hoped that they could combine their efforts to publish games without being hampered by outside marketing and business types. The Next Testament featured previews of upcoming God Games releases, which at the time included Max Payne. Photos of this item have appeared online, but attempts to track down an existing copy have so far been unsuccessful. LucasArts almost sued Remedy. As was reported by IGN back in July of 1998, LucasArts demanded that Remedy Entertainment change their logo. LucasArts felt that the top portion of Remedy's logo too closely resembled the LucasArts logo, and threatened legal action if Remedy wouldn't change it. Remedy complied, but according to a statement made at the time, they had already been working on a new logo, as they felt that the logo in question didn't accurately portray the company image. The logo was removed from Remedy's website and replaced with a question mark. On April 29, 1999, Remedy unveiled their classic bullet logo. Mr. Door boss fight. During a developer live stream that took place on May 29, 2024, it was revealed that a boss battle between Alan Wake and Mr. Door was planned at an early point during development. Will these two do battle when they meet again? Only time will tell. There are many more mysteries to be found in the Remedy Connected universe, and every new release from Remedy provides not only a bevy of answers, but also more questions. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. We have a huge back catalog of videos covering all sorts of game lore and game history, with plenty more Remedy-related videos available.